In every moment, you choose who you want to be and how you want to live your life. It is your ultimate power and your inescapable responsibility. You are the master of your reality. It doesn't always feel that way, though. Too often, we believe the awful fictions of our fears. We misperceive things like success and value in life, misperceive luck. We perpetuate our own insecurities and vanities, and we struggle to listen to each other and to our own hearts. How can we take back control, creating the lives we want with awareness and purpose? That's the question we tackle in this interview series, Mastering Your Reality. We consider the question with remarkable folks who clearly have a lot to teach us on the subject. Today's guest is one such person. When she was 5 years old, Bonnie St. John's right leg was amputated. Nevertheless, she went on to become the first African American to medal in a Winter Olympics when she took home 3 medals in the 1984 Winter Paralympics in Innsbruck, Austria. That's just the beginning of her resume. Bonnie graduated with high honors from Harvard and was awarded the prestigious Rhodes Scholarship. President Clinton named her a Director of Human Capital Issues for his White House National Economic Council. She's the CEO of the Blue Circle Leadership Institute, and she's a highly sought-after leadership consultant to Fortune 500 companies. She's also the best-selling author of 7 books. NBC Nightly News called Bonnie one of the 5 most inspirational women in America. Bonnie, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's great. I love the whole concept of mastering your reality.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, I do too. Thank you. And you're a great example of it. I want to jump right in and talk about your new book, which I'm excited about, Micro Resilience, Minor Shifts for Major Boosts in Focus, Drive, and Energy. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Well, I've been passionate about helping people master their reality all my life. I'm the one-legged black skier from San Diego who had no money, so I completely created myself, out of fiction. And so I've always been about helping people to reach their potential, to go beyond the limitations they think they have. And this book, Micro Resilience, is really about giving people baby steps, micro tiny steps to help you be more resilient. Because ultimately, to shape your own reality, you need to constantly be bouncing back. You need to be trying something, it doesn't work. Try something else, it doesn't work. If you want to live in reality, just do whatever works. Do whatever's easy. But if you want to shape your reality, you have to do the hard things, and that requires a lot of resilience. So, micro resilience. We scoured the literature looking for little things, evidence-based things that can help your brain, your emotions, your body to be more resilient hour by hour every day.
I love it. I'm a big believer that like as with with chaos theory, very subtle shifts in perspective or in behaviors and habits can produce just profound impacts. Often, just looking at something slightly different or making those sort of baby steps, as you say, has huge impacts. Can you give us some examples, maybe?
Well, the thing is, it's really easy things to do. So where the real power is in understanding why you need to do these things. And so, for example, with your brain, our brains get overwhelmed. And I look at it as our prefrontal cortex, the most advanced part of our brain, was when it was evolved, it was just to do extra things. Most of our life was running and working and getting food and things, and we just used our prefrontal cortex occasionally to plan ahead or envision something. But the way the world has changed in the last 100 years, in the last 50 years, we're using our prefrontal cortex so much more, and we're exhausting it. And so a lot of the tips for resilience are about how can you use that great resource that you have more efficiently. And if you do, you're going to feel a lot smarter and your brain's less exhausted. So a couple of examples for your brain. One is about multitasking, and a lot of people have talked about the research on multitasking. And so carving out zones of focus. And the more I look at this, the more I think our ability to focus is under attack in today's society. I've had to focus to be a ski racer. I had to focus to write books, but I even find it harder and harder to focus now, given everything that's going on. So we talk, and I'm not going to go into detail, but we talk about how do you create those zones of focus for yourself. And, some people can create more than others. but a lot of it is about communicating with other people about this is when I'm going to focus. This is how I'm going to do it. If you really need to interrupt me, here's how you do it. But don't interrupt me if you don't have to. So that communication. A lot of people just say I can't do it because everything's coming at me. But if you communicate with other people, you can carve it out. So that's really important. Another fun one for your brain, and this has made a big difference for me, is the way you think about exercise. So typically we think of exercise in what we call a macro way. We coined the term micro resilience, but in a macro way, you think of exercise. I'm going to exercise 4 times a week. I'm going to go for an hour. I'm going to get really sweaty. I'm going to be in good shape. But today I have a big project. I have to give a speech, or, I got to do an interview on this great podcast called Mastering Your Reality, So you say, well, I don't have time to exercise today, but I exercised yesterday. I'll exercise tomorrow. I'm in good shape. It's good. But the micro way to think about exercise is there's research that says a little bit of exercise can make you smarter for hours afterwards. So 10 minutes of walking. There's one study that says 20 minutes of dancing. And afterwards, you generate more ideas. You get better insights and connections. You're able to draw things from your memory better. And so if you know that, you look at it differently. And so from a micro perspective, you would say, gosh, I have something really important to do today. I can't afford not to do some exercise. And it doesn't have to look like an hour and getting sweaty, but it's targeted. So a lot of the micro resilience tips are like that. It's about what's the immediate benefit I can get, as opposed to exercising on a regular basis and it's a good habit. It's how is exercise an immediate benefit for me today? Does that make sense?
That makes great sense, and I love it. I love it. At the same time, you've just eliminated a whole zone of sort of rationalization and kind of procrastination that I've gotten very comfortable with exercise. So now I got to relook at it. As you said.
And that's an example that has really changed my behavior because it makes you add another dimension of exercise. So, not all your exercise has to be heavy duty sweaty, and not all of your exercise, some of your exercise can be targeted on what do I need to accomplish today.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a means to an end. It's sort of the demands of your day are more reason to do it than to avoid it. I like it.
Yeah, so that's one category. There's 5 different categories. So one of them is hacks to help you be less overwhelmed with your brain.
Okay.
There's some that are aligned with like being less emotionally reactive. We get a lot of what's exhausting and it makes us less resilient is that we get hijacked by things that happen to us emotionally.
Sure.
There's another area that's on purpose. People do work on purpose and you figure out your purpose and then you put it on the shelf and you go about your busy day and, it doesn't really help you. And so we're micro, again, is hour by hour. How can I be a high performer hour by hour? And so you're looking at it 3 in the afternoon when I'm tired. How does purpose help me? So things like that. We're looking at what is the little thing that you can do that gives you more energy and makes you feel less exhausted hour by hour, day by day. So who doesn't need that, right?
Absolutely. Especially, this day and age, this world we're living in. As you say, this just sort of constantly bombarded with demands on attention and energy and mental capacity. Now, you keep saying we. You wrote this book. You co-authored the book with your husband. Is that correct?
That's right. Alan Haynes. We wrote it together. And he was the CEO of a number of different mid-sized, high-growth companies in the marketing for the entertainment industry. So trailers for movies and TV spots for TV shows. And we met. He was producing and directing a pilot for a new TV show, and I was one of the guests. The other guests were P. Diddy, Jeff Gordon, the NASCAR driver, and Hillary Clinton.
Wow.
So I like to say the TV show pilot didn't get picked up, but I did.
That's awesome. Season after season.
So many seasons now. But we really enjoyed writing the book together because it gives people a toolkit for being more resilient. But even more importantly, it gives leaders a way to bring their team along. There's so much disruption going on in the economy. Technology is transforming every single industry. And so leaders really need a way to have a vocabulary about how can we all be more resilient? How can we do this without letting it kill us? And I love to see what we can do for leaders.
Yeah. And even as parents and as, active members of our communities, similar demands.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned children. And I know you have 7-year-old triplets and a 2-year-old. God bless you. And one of the things in the book that's really great for children is what we call a first aid kit for your attitude. Now, everybody needs this, but it's something you can really teach to your kids too. Is you have a first aid kit, you have band-aids in case you get an owie. So kids can understand your attitude can get an owie too. You can get a bruise or a hit to your attitude. And so why not have a kit just like that first aid kit to help you repair your attitude? And adults, we do this with adults all the time. It can be a great team building event to look at, how does everybody create their own first aid kit, for your attitude and different things. Different people can use different things. You can use pictures of your family, mementos from a vacation. I have in my joy kit a note from my mother who passed away 10 years ago, and she's beautiful handwriting, and it says cherish yourself. So when you're having a bad day, and usually you get all upset about something that probably doesn't matter 10 days from now, something like that can help put it in perspective. So it can be a team building thing, and again, you have that shared vocabulary. You're having a bad day, here, let me give you this for your joy kit. It's going to help you turn your attitude around. But it's great to teach it to kids because it gives them that message early on. You're in charge of your attitude. It's not just what happens to you. You have the ability to push back and say, you know what? I know my attitude went south, but now I can turn it around again and go on with my day.
Everything is choice. I tell my kids all the time, if you're unhappy or frustrated or angry, it's you're the only person who can make you feel that way, and it's your choice to do something about it. So I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. Alan and I were doing this at an after-school program with girls. It's Girls on the Run. And so we were helping them make their own little first aid kits. And one of the things we gave them to put in it was a blank thank you note. So it's like when you're having a bad day, write a thank you note to somebody else, and that'll turn your attitude around.
I absolutely love that. I was also thinking of my kids when you mentioned the importance of communicating with those around us in order to build some structure, to have the focus to really kind of devote ourselves to the mental tasks that we want to achieve. It's thinking of my kids sort of in two ways. One, critical to start teaching them, look, daddy's maybe he's home, he's in the home office right now, but I'm busy and I'm doing some stuff, and unless it's really important, I'm doing some work or whatever. But also it's an important lesson, I think, to start teaching them in their lives when they're young.
That they need to focus too. Yeah. And I think for your peace of mind to be working, in your home office or in an office, you need people to know when they should knock on the door, or when they should get a hold of you. If there's blood, knock on the door, but they need to know when can I break through the threshold. But other than that, we don't need, if it's something that I can handle an hour from now, then that's okay.
There's also the discipline, the self-discipline to, close down your email client and, shut the web browser and, maybe just either just sit and think or, sit and write or give yourself the time and space to really be your best at sort of one activity instead of trying to do 10 at the same time.
I hate to sign up for the internet on planes, and I hope they never really get good phone service on planes because, that's a time when you can actually really just think and reflect. So it's been so important in my life to be able to focus. I think in the future, people who can focus are going to be considered gods. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that person can focus.
Yeah. Can write more than like a 7-word text, right? Wow, that's amazing. Now you mentioned planes. I'm assuming you spend a fair bit of time on planes, right? You do a lot of leadership consulting with corporations, right? And keynote speeches and whatnot as well.
I do. So our company is Blue Circle Leadership. We're the Blue Circle Leadership Institute. And we do a lot of consulting with companies, but in the last couple of years, we've launched some virtual leadership programs for women that have been really successful and just growing. And so that keeps us very busy. But it's so rewarding because it's a really innovative way to do virtual training. We looked at everything that was out there and said, no, I think we could do better. And it's an 8-month program, but it's very high touch. Most people, when they think of a virtual training program, they think, oh, you're alone at 10 o'clock at night filling out a form. But this is not what it is. It's there are different topics every month, and we have a conversation about that topic, and you can sign up for different times. I'm going to do the 3 o'clock time, or I'm going to do the Friday time. But in that discussion that we get in on that topic, there's a lot of interaction. We actually have virtual breakouts. We have discussions. We come back. We discuss. We have people teed up ahead of time to say, you're going to talk about this book that we did, reading that we did. You're going to talk about, your report from your team. So everybody's talking. It's very interactive. You make friends. You get to know people. And we go on this journey for 8 months. They meet in small teams in between. And it's very much community building. and it gives people time to reflect and grow. So I've run a lot of programs where you fly everybody in for 3 days and you fire hose them with different
Yeah.
topics all day long for 3 days. And it's fun. It's really rewarding. It's really intense. Again, you can focus, you block everything out. But then you go home, your work is piled up, you kind of revert to previous behavior. But with this long term, but giving people a chance to reflect and to grow and to apply an idea and then come back and discuss it and then apply the next idea, we see people can grow so much more by doing it slowly, a little bit. They're doing, maybe a reading one week, a discussion, and then a team meeting the next week. So they're doing a little bit every week, and it's magic in terms of what they can do in terms of really growing.
That's
In
awesome.
leadership.
What are the types of topics that you all work on?
So a lot of things for the challenges for women are really to engage a lot of support for their career. I think what we see a lot is that women, and I'm amazed, even some of the most motivated, smart women from some of the best schools, they'll put their head down and they'll work really hard and think, I'm going to get a promotion. And then they get the promotion and they put their head down again and they work really hard and they get the next promotion. And I call it rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. But if you really want to make it to a high level leader, you need to be groomed. You can't just rinse and repeat. You need to be targeting something, higher. Talk to people about how do I prepare for that kind of a role? Who do I need to know? What experiences do I need to have? And you need to be engaging in that conversation. And what we see are a lot of women just don't do that. They don't know that they should. And even then when they realize they should, they don't have the words for it. So at the end of the course, I've had women say, I would have thought it was arrogant to ask that, and I had a conversation with Judy in one of the breakouts, and she gave me the words to talk to my manager about it. And I said, okay, I can say that, and I did it. And it's probably amazing to you that and these are successful women who come into the course who are nominated by their companies, they're high performers, but they're not used to asking for support for their career growth. And when they learn how to do that, some people have sponsor matching programs. I'm going to give you a sponsor. I'm going to give you a mentor. I think of this as we're not giving them a fish. We're teaching them to fish.
Yes, absolutely.
I was at a company where we have one of these programs. And again, we do consulting. So I was at the company doing something else. And I ran into one of the women in the hallway that was in the virtual program. She goes, it'll never be the same. She said, now that I've had all these conversations with people, it's like I've uncorked the genie. All these people are trying to help me. I'm moving forward. She's like, there's so much momentum. I can never go back to the way it was before. Another woman said, this course popped my socks off, and I am not putting them back on.
That's awesome.
So we really enjoy doing that. And what's up next for us is that we're launching a special version of the course for women in technology, because women in technology face unique problems in the atmosphere that they work in. I think there's less coaching and mentoring going on for anybody, never mind women or men. In a tech environment, there's so much focus on the hard skills that a lot of times those soft kind of relationship things don't happen as much. So looking at how do women in technology do the same thing we're talking about, engaging the support, helping their careers go forward, breaking through barriers. So we'll be doing a special version of that we'll be launching in June.
Phenomenal. Speaking of breaking through barriers, what is it like to win 3 Olympic medals, and do you ever put them on?
I do often when I speak, when I'm giving a keynote speech, and that's a lot of fun because people will come up afterwards and they want to touch them and they want to have their picture, or for their kids. And I love being able to use them to inspire other people to think about what's possible for them. And it is a crazy story. I grew up in San Diego. I didn't even see snow until I was 13, and then moved away from San Diego, lived on glaciers over the summer, had to hire coaches, wait tables, and, there's no farm team for finding the one-legged black girl in San Diego for the USC team, So you really have to be entrepreneurial. Talking about mastering your own reality, you really, as growing up in San Diego, I really had to figure out how to make it happen. It wasn't just reality wasn't going to roll over and say, sure,
Well, I always say, it's not the circumstances you confront that determine the life you live, the reality you experience, right? How those circumstances manifest themselves in your life is entirely in your control. It's your choice. And you are a living example of that. I really, really appreciate your taking the time to speak with me, and maybe we'll do it again someday.
Thank you. I just, it's funny. I was thinking about coming on your show and your topic and what it is. And I was thinking, what is the one tip I would give people for mastering their reality? And I would say it's take action. That the hardest thing I see is when people have a dream or they have something they want to do and they're just not doing anything. Do one little thing today, do one little thing next week, and you get some momentum. And, I failed at so many things, but if you, and that's important to say because if you're trying things, some things aren't going to work. But if you try enough things, some crazy things are going to work. You could be the one-legged skier. So I'm glad you're doing this show.
Thank you, and I couldn't agree more. I love that you use the word momentum. I often say life is momentum, right? It's just about progress, and it's not the big overarching sort of towering aspirations. It's what's your best next step to get there, and
exactly.
Yeah.
And if something fails, try something else. Just, keep getting into action on your dreams, and some of them will come true.
Absolutely.
So, and it's a life worth living.
Bonnie, what's the best way for folks to learn more about your 7 books and your speaking program and your virtual courses?
Well, they can go to bluecircleinstitute.com,
Okay.
and there's also bonniestjohn.com if you're looking for more about me personally. But the programs and what we do are mainly at Blue Circle Institute. There's also the micro resilience site, which is for the book, and there's actually some great videos to give you micro resilience tips from that website as well. So lots of options to learn, lots of free things to download, and this is what I want to do is give people resources to really bust through their potential.
I love it, and we will link to all 3 of those things in the notes for this show. Bonnie, thank you again. You are a master of your reality.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.